Hey, what's up guys, Tony here, and I am going to give you guys not a review, but just kind of like my impressions of the brand new Holden Commodore that just came out on Tuesday. And before I get started, I should tell you right now that this is not your professional V8 Supercar driver review. This is a review, or I guess the first impressions, as I said, from somebody who is a casual, like very casual, because I think that's important, just because of the simple fact that the V8 Supercars are a very niche sort of area of iRacing. There's not a lot of participation, and the belief is, and was and is that the new Holden, so the Commodore, the Holden, and then the I guess the reimagined, the Car of Tomorrow, I believe it's called, a Ford that's coming out next season, will somehow transform the V8 Supercars into something that resembles the GT3, where you have high participation, and with high participation you get like varied skills. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think V8 Supercars is still going to be very much a niche, I don't know, market, I guess, for lack of a better term, in iRacing. And I say that for the following reasons. So the Ford Falcon that came before it, my buddy Tim, he loves V8 Supercars. I don't really know much about V8 Supercars, so he really wanted to give it a go. And especially when Mount Panorama here, Bathurst, came out, he was all about it. And I've raced in one official race with the V8 Supercar, and it didn't go well. It was at Mossport probably like a year ago. And every time I jump in a V8 Supercar, or at least the Ford Falcon, the car was just heavy, the brakes sucked, it got sideways incredibly easily. It's not what you would expect a race car to have been. It was just everything that a race car should be. It wasn't. It wasn't nimble. Oh, but I take that back. It was fast. I mean, it was ridiculously fast. It was just like a heavy car with a gigantic motor, just way too much power. Like, there's way more power than it actually needs, to get racing. And it just doesn't do anything well besides go fast in a straight line. And so I, like a lot of people, believe that the Holden would be a different animal. So thanks to iRacing's, end of the season credit, I paid $1 for the Holden. So I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not give it a try? Because I personally am looking for a new series to run. I've been running GT3 since the inception of GT3. So it was the Roof and the McLaren. And I think that's been 4 seasons now, or will be going on to its 4th season. And there's a part of me that's just like, okay, I've done this. It's really nice that every season so far, well, actually this last season they didn't do anything new. But, they introduced the Roof and then the BMW, and then we had last season. So, yeah, I think it's going into a 4th season. And then now they got the Ford GT3 coming into GT3 racing. So every year, or every season for the most part, they've added something new. But for the most part, it's not really adding anything new to the mix. So I wanted to find something new to run. Personally, I'm looking at like Indy Road, maybe V8 Supercars is one of them. That's why we're watching this video. So I picked up the Holden, like a lot of people did, I believe. And I was surprised to find out, and like I said, again, this is from a casual standpoint. This is not from somebody who races these things all the time, because I read reviews on the forums, and I've read some of the reviews on Reddit. And I've noticed a trend is that the people that are praising the Holden are the people that run a lot of V8 Supercars. So they can tell the difference between the two cars. And I think as somebody like myself making this video for people like myself, I wanted to kind of say, okay, here's what I see from a casual standpoint. And so I'm going to do that now. The Holden is, there's a couple things about it that right off the get-go that both parties, the aliens and the casuals, I've noticed is that the sound effects are all the same. So there aren't any new sound effects. The the paint schemes that you can do in iRacing are the same. So they're very lazy about getting the sounds. Either they couldn't get the sounds because, you know, they'd have to fly to New Zealand or Australia to get the sounds. Either they're lazy or they just figured that these were good enough, or maybe they'll update them later. Who knows? That's up to iRacing. But I do think that in the paint schemes per car, you know, they could have done something different. They could have designed different standard paint schemes for the users, but they didn't do that. So I thought it was kind of lazy on their part. But really what's more important is how does the car handle? Well, to be honest, when I jumped in it for the first time, what I could notice from it, it handled essentially the same way that the Ford Falcon does. It's heavy. It has a lot of understeer. The brakes are not that great, and it feels unresponsive. It's not what, like I said, what you would expect from a race car. However, once you kind of get the hang of it, and the trick is, and this is for those of you who are sort of on the fence about it, the trick about driving a V8 Supercar that I've noticed is that you have to take everything that you know about iRacing and everything that you've ever done and throw it out the window. Because driving this track with this car like you would a GT3 car, you're gonna slam into the wall. It's a whole different animal, and it has to be treated like a whole different animal. Now, track knowledge does come into play. That is a factor, so you know the track, all the tracks, but it's hard to distance yourself from what you already know when it comes to other cars that you've driven, because this car doesn't drive like any other car. You really have to take it slow. So for me, when I started to take it slow, I started to have success, and I started to actually get around this track, because I would crash like every damn time I was going up and down the mountain. I would find a spot to crash in, and that's not to say that I still don't have problems. You'll see at the end of the video, I still have problems with this car on this track, and it's just something you have to get used to. When I finally sort of took myself out of the GT3 realm, I was like, okay, screw this, I need to think of another approach, because clearly my approach is not working. I started actually have fun with the car. It is a challenging car, and I think that's what most people enjoy about the Holden, is that it is in fact a challenge, and they get off on the challenge. I like highly responsive cars. I'm not saying I like easy to drive cars, but because I don't get a chance to race as much as I would like to, I kind of prefer cars that don't require that I put in 5 or 6 hours a week practicing per track. If I can get away with practicing maybe 2 hours a week, I'm very happy with that. But the Holden is, the V8 Supercars are definitely a car. It is a car that requires a lot more practice. So if you have the time and effort to get into it, I think it's worth a buy. But go in knowing that you're going to have to pretty much change the way you approach a track, because this car doesn't drive like any other car. So I'm interested to know what you guys think. Have you guys bought the car? And you'll see right here, boom, just, you know, messed it up, couldn't figure it out. But it is, like I said, it's a challenging car, and I think you'll enjoy it. But just go in, like I said, go in knowing that there are things about the car that you'll have to change your approach to each track you race. So it is a substantial learning curve. So I thought I was going to be a little bit more hateful towards the Holden, but I think it has its place, and I think I don't know, if you're up for a challenge, I think you'll enjoy it. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. But just to kind of recap real quick while the TV version plays, it is just, like I said, going in, know this going in, that the car is incredibly heavy. It has a lot of understeer. The brakes aren't very good. There is no ABS, so you'll lock up the brakes if you're on it too hard. I like the transmission. Transmission is actually really nice. The rear end at times gets away from you a little bit. There are some bumps that I'm not used to, at least on Mount Panorama. There's some bumps where you'll get loose if you're on the throttle a little too hard. And that's the other thing that I noticed, is that if it's more of a throttle control vehicle. You really need to be really cognizant about how much throttle you're putting into this car, and short shifting is also something that seems to be a thing too. So just keep that in mind. That sounds like a lot for a casual racer. That sounds like a lot to keep in mind, but if you're up for a challenge, I think you'll enjoy it. So in the comment section below, let me know what you guys think. You know, I know there's going to be some people that are just diehard V8 Supercar people who are going to come here and be like, oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because you've never driven a V8 Supercar for a whole season. And you're right, I don't. But a majority of people haven't driven V8 supercars, so this is a review. This is sort of my first impressions for, like I said, those people who are like me, who have either toyed with the V8 supercars or maybe have no experience with the V8 supercars. So if you're on the fence about it, you know, if you don't have, like I said, basically what it boils down to, if you don't have the time to put into the V8 supercars, I'd skip it. But if you're up for a challenge and you've got, you know, maybe 5 or 6 hours a week you want to dedicate to practicing per track until you get used to the car, and then I'm pretty sure after that you can probably just do your normal couple hours of practice, go race, have a good time. The other thing is, like I said, I still think it's going to be a niche car. I don't think it's going to become a widely popular series. I could be wrong, but I thought the DW12 would make the Indy series a widely popular series, and it was widely popular for about the first week, and then after that it wasn't very popular. You know, it went back to its regular, you know, little small group of people that were running in the oval and the road. So it's not going to be that thing that everyone is just like, oh, this new car, this shiny new thing is going to make the V8 Supercar series this, you know, high participation series. It's not going to be the case. It might be that way, like I said, the first 2 weeks, but then it'll probably die off. But anyways, like I said, just one last time, you know, if you're up for a challenge, I'd pick it up. If you don't have the time or don't like challenges, I'd skip it. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I shall talk to you guys later.